to today at Keeneland for Wednesday, October 21st. What a day it is from a weather perspective. We might be nearing 80 degrees this afternoon. The key point of talking about weather is the amount of rain, Gabby, that we've gotten over the last couple of days, especially 2 days ago. A lot of rain here in Lexington, so no turf racing today. There are quite a few scratches and changes, as you would expect. But in today's card, we've got another fantastic 8-race card to kick off the final 4 days of this fall meet. And we go from cold to rainy to now what we might consider hot this afternoon.
Can you blame me that I have a full wardrobe hanging up in the back of my car?
Yeah, because you do have a closet that you can hang it in at home.
It's a mess. It's so unpredictable, the weather here at this time of year in Lexington. But I am not complaining. It's like going to be low, mid-70s today. At least that's what it feels like. Definitely different from last week. And clear skies, Scott. The most important thing is that we're not expecting rain today. Unfortunately, we did have it during the dark days, though. Let's take a look back at Sunday. It was another good card of racing on the weekend. And if memory serves correctly, this was the afternoon that Florent Giroux and Brad Cox teamed up for 3 victories. Am I thinking correctly here? I think so, yes. I think you're right. Hard to remember back to last Sunday, but we did see some impressive performances. Overall, a great week here at Keeneland. And looking forward to, it's bittersweet, closing week coming up, Scott. Closing week, but then Breeders' Cup is right around the corner. So as though we may be sad that the racing is ending for this meeting, BC is coming up in that first weekend of November for the World Championships, and it'll be great to see all of these horses arrive into Central Kentucky and watch them train over this main track and preparing for the biggest test of their 2020 season. Before we dive into today, let's find out more about the weather and what's going to be happening this afternoon on this Wednesday card.
We are looking pretty good out there for the races today. Temperatures are going to end up being more like the first part of the meet. Typically should be. Temperatures running in the 70s out there. Mid-70s for daytime highs, even some upper 70s. But as we start running through these race times, I think we do cool back off. Probably a little quicker by 5 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock, of course, with the sun getting so low in the sky. But conditions are drying up pretty rapidly with all the sun that will be out there before we get to the first race, even with some of that heavier rain that was around yesterday. Good luck out there.
So there you go, the official word from CWKYT, warm conditions, drying out conditions over the course of the afternoon. Let's hope that that course dries out between now and tomorrow, so we'll be good to go on the grass course. But before we dive into the featured event, which will be race number 7, let's go to our full card selections, Gabby Gaudet, presented by TVG.
And it looks like we agree more today than really in days past. Well, if we're looking down the list here, race 3 we agree, race 4 we agree, and there's some overlapping picks throughout the afternoon. You and I had to go back to the drawing board with some races that had come off the turf, and kind of a head scratcher because some of those off the turf races, they're pretty much comprised by turf horses who have limited or no starts on the main track. So it makes it a little bit more tricky this afternoon, but also a lot of the time, and I say this often, Scott, these are the days that you can make money. Sometimes there are vulnerable favorites, and sometimes favorites are bet for the wrong reasons, albeit turf performances. So these are the types of days where you can get value, and that's hard in this day and age.
Social media, give us a follow on Facebook as well as Twitter, Instagram. We've got you covered on all avenues of social media, at Keeneland Racing on Twitter, at Keeneland for Facebook, at Keeneland for Instagram. And don't forget to download that Watch TVG app on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, as well as Apple TV. That is the best way to watch both TVG and TVG2, as well as the race book. So social media got you covered. Also, don't forget the Keeneland November sale is just around the corner. Give us a follow there at Keeneland Sales for that upcoming high level, the best breeding stock sale in the world come Keeneland November, just 2 days after Breeders' Cup Saturday is when we get rolling over in the sales pavilion. But the featured event is race number 7. Part of the late pick 4 does start the late daily double. $71,000 entry-level allowance race for fillies and mares 3 and up, and 7 furlongs is the distance for this group. You can see Never Forget on the outside is the favorite at odds of 3-1. That is the Vicky Oliver filly for G. Watts Humphrey Jr., who hasn't been seen since a third in the Grade 2 8 bells. I've got her as the third selection. I'm going to the 2, O Serafina, a daughter of Congrats, a Keeneland sales graduate who's quick. I think she may be the quickest in this race. There's not a lot of speed, Gabby, in this event for 7 furlongs, and if Joe Sharp has her ready, this is the type of performance that we saw from her last time. Now, the readiness is the concern because this victory at Oaklawn Park was 8 months ago when she blew the doors off of this group by 7 1/4. Couldn't have done it easier. She was geared down in a jog, and she was a gate-to-wire winner in a race that she was DQ'd back in the end of December of 2019 during her 2-year-old season. So if she can pop out of the gate and outbreak these fillies, she's going to be awfully dangerous in here with Gabe Saez. You can see the ease in which she did it as straightforward of a look back as you'll have in taking a look at these past races. I also think you've got to respect impeccable style. The daughter of Uncle Mo, who was last seen running against She Dares the Devil in the Indiana Oaks, who would ultimately go on and win the Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks. This filly's run against some big-time runners this year. Finite, who just the other day ran a big one in the Lexus Raven run right here at Keeneland. So you got to respect the impeccable style. And then the 8 on the outside, that's Never Forget. You got to respect her based on her showing up here. They had her entered in the Lexus Raven run, but they opt for this spot instead here today. So 2-1-8 in our featured 7th race today at Keeneland.
Well, you and I definitely disagree in this race. I do like O Serafina, and I think she's probably the filly to beat off of her last couple of performances, but it is a long layoff, and to be honest, Scott, I think she's maybe a little bit better going 2 turns or a longer distance, and that in combination, in conjunction with the fact that she's coming in off the layoff and it's at 7 furlongs, I don't know if she can do it today. So the 4, Aurelia Garland, will be the top pick for me because this is a filly that I've been following for quite some time, and I really, truly think that she is best at 1 turn. So this, to me, seems like the perfect spot for her, but it is still going to be a class test. We'll find out today if she's good enough. We'll take you back to her race in the Grade 3 Iowa Oaks, where she managed to finish second to flat out speed. But even in her sprint races, and her sprint race at Churchill back in May was off of a very long layoff, going 7/8 to 4 Graces, missed T2. Both of those fillies are graded stakes caliber horses. So I do like the fact that they're cutting her back in distance or bringing her back to the dirt, which I think is her preferred surface. And she's not that slow, so I don't think she has to lag behind the field. I think she could probably be tactical today behind the 2 O Serafina, and I'll also use the 1 Impeccable Style, who I'm not crazy about the rail draw for her, Scott. I don't know what Ricardo Santana Jr. will do with the presence of O Serafina. If she had an outside post, I probably would have even considered picking her on top. But 4-1-2 for me in the feature.
Let's find out more about the Vicky Oliver trainee. Never Forget, as Tom Leach had a chance to catch up with Vicky about this race today.
Allowance feature on today's card includes Never Forget, coming off a nice 3rd place finish in the 8 bells. What'd you like about that race?
I thought she ran a great race. She wanted to get in a little bit coming for home. It probably cost her seconds, but sometimes she'll want to do that. But I thought it was a big effort on her part.
How's she trained out of that?
She's trained fantastic. Probably the best she's trained since I've had her. So I think she's doing really well. I think she's grown up a lot. So I look forward to seeing her run this week.
It looked like that previous race up at Indiana, a light bulb came on. What was different?
You know, I don't know, but Frivolous, her mother, I trained as well, and she got better at 4 and 5, so the older they got. And I think the older she's gotten and the better she's gotten, and she's training better and more professional.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Never Forget for Vicky Oliver coming up in the allowance feature.
It's a good featured event. As per usual, these allowance races, they are of stakes quality, and Never Forget, obviously, finishing 3rd against Grade 2 company in the 8 bells. Back on Kentucky Oaks Day at Churchill Downs. So we look forward to that. We'll talk more about it when we dive into our late pick 4. But time now for our key races of the day, and I will start early in the card with race number 3. Now, race number 3 does start the pick 6 this afternoon. There are a couple of scratches as this race moves from the turf course over to the main track for 2-year-old fillies, maiden special weight for 2-year-old fillies. And you can also see that Tis Splendid News is the 2-1 morning line favorite. This is the filly that I go to here. Now, obviously, handicapping for turf, that was the idea when looking at this initially, but it didn't change my opinion with it coming off the turf course because she's got a dirt pedigree as well. She's by McLean's Music out of a Tis Now mare in Tis News, and we'll go back to her debut race at Kentucky Downs where she set the pace in that race going 6.5 furlongs on the turf course. and just gets nailed at the wire. You can understand a horse getting lost out on the lead at Kentucky Downs with the length of the stretch in which they have to deal with, as we've referenced several times over. And the fact that Wesley's going to keep this horse in this race, he doesn't put his 2-year-olds especially, or any horse for that matter, in vulnerable spots. She's had to have had some solid enough dirt workouts for him to keep her in this race. Otherwise, he would have scratched this daughter of McLean's Music. She's a full brother to a 2-year-old stakes winner. Made me shiver, so 'tis splendid news. The morning line favorite with Gerardo Corrales, one of his go-to guys, Wesley. I don't see the main track being an issue whatsoever. The 3-horse Dame of Malta, a Union Rags filly, who comes from a graded stakes winning first dam, Busy Caroline. That's the second choice for Arnold Delacour, who's good with first-time starters. 16% is his first-out strike rate. And then Persevering, the daughter of Ironicus. I think that the 2 turns will aid her here today for Reeve McGahee, a daughter of Ironicus, who was at his best, Gabby, going a mile. And this filly's a half to American Derby winner working for Hops, who did all his good work up in Chicago. So 2, 3, and 7 in race number 3, as you'll jump ahead 3 races to race number 6.
That's right, Scott. So the late pick 4 does kick off in the 5th race, but race 6 is within the sequence. This race, originally scheduled for the turf at 1 mile and a 16th, will run on the main track at 1 mile and a 16th today for this 2 other than allowance race. And I really liked the 7 Carpe Venom as the top pick here on turf. And yes, taking a little bit of a shot with her on the dirt here today for trainer Phil D'Amato. Let's take a look at her race a couple starts ago at Del Mar. This was an allowance race, and I'm kind of hoping for a similar trip today in which she just stalked from off of the pace and got the victory again. This race was on the turf. Now she is on the dirt today, but still she has kind of a swing pedigree in that I think she should be just fine on the main track. She's by Carpe Diem, this 3-year-old filly, and she just seems like a filly that's been a little bit outclassed in her last 2 starts. The last race was not a graded stakes race, but it could have easily been a grade 1 as Harvey's Little Goyle came back to win the grade 1 QE2, and even before that, the grade 1 Del Mar Oak. So not saying that this is an easy field, but I do think she gets a class relief. Beyond her, I think the 6 Naughty Joker is very interesting. Unfortunately, she's had trouble kind of being consistent in the afternoon. We haven't seen her for quite some time, and her starts are pretty limited, but her dirt form, I think, is right there to make her dangerous. And then also the 2 Past the Plate. You have to go back to January earlier this year at the fairgrounds, but she was beaten 4 lengths in the Silver Bullet Day to Finite. We mentioned Finite coming back in good form for trainer Steve Asmussen. So I think now re-handicapping this race, Scott, the 2 Past the Plate is definitely a horse that you want to use, as I think she's kind of got the better dirt form or dirt race out of anybody in here.
Yeah, more thoughts on that once we'll dive into our pick 4 again. That race is part of the pick 4 here this afternoon. It is leg number 2. That is race number 6. I'm going to jump ahead to the nightcap, and Gabby's going to keep us there as we have differing opinions here in race number 8, which is got a couple of scratches. Margaret's Joy is out. Lee Chase is also out. The number 4 horse is where I end up in race number 8 with the scratch of the number 2 horse. That was originally the idea here with this filly, but she's going to be scratched because they've come off the turf course. So 4, 7, and 8 are my top 3 selections. Safari Queen, a daughter of Animal Kingdom, a grade 1 winner on multiple surfaces, winner of the Kentucky Derby, obviously on the dirt over Churchill Downs. So she gets that opportunity here today. Comes out of a 1 mile and an 1/8 race where she was just simply outrun based on the pace. And she was coming on late. She didn't run a bad race by any means, finishing 6th, only beaten 1 length and a quarter. So Safari Queen with David Cohen. I'm hoping that Cohen is aggressive with her and tries to get her out on the front end, because so often these fillies who are not used to running on dirt, taking that kickback on the dirt is something that they can't overcome. So if Safari Queen can break sharp, she'll be dangerous. And I think Fortuna, too. I mean, she's a filly with Tyler Gaffalione that you have to respect. That's the second choice in here. She's had some speedy races going longer, but is that going to translate here today on the dirt course? She's got a dirt pedigree as well that you've got to respect in Fortuna. And then finally, the number 8 horse, Python S. for Michael Campbell, a daughter of Liam's Map, who does have dirt experience, Gabby, but that was sprinting. She's come on lately on the turf with those route races between Tampa Bay Downs, Colonial, and Arlington Park. So maybe, just maybe, the route is what she's going to need. She's got that dirt pedigree as well. She's by Liam's Map, Grade 1 winner of the dirt mile here at Keeneland 5 years ago, and out of a Seattle Slew mare in Seattle Shimmer. So the 4-7-8 is the idea there. A much different opinion versus it being on the main track here. I think the 4 and the 7 are the ones that you really have to pay attention to out of the Grand Motion barn.
I definitely agree with the 7, Fortuna, but I go in a different direction completely. This horse was my top selection when it was on the turf, and I'm still going to stick with her on the dirt here today, and that's the 5, Take Charge Patty. I like the fact that she gets the blinkers on, and she remains going a long distance. Now, this is a filly in the past who's gone 6 furlongs, 6.5, even the 1-turn mile at Churchill Downs. I think she is just a stayer. She needs to be forwardly placed and keep on going because she is just one paced at those 1-turn distances. We'll show you one of her races. This was on the turf at Churchill back on the 11th of June. But I thought she ran really well in this race, so I guess it's okay to highlight this race and saying that the talent is there. This was too short of a distance for her, and she still managed to finish second to Tiz Hara, who came back to win an allowance at Keeneland in July. Her last race, albeit on the turf, she finished 4th to Great Island, who came back to win an allowance race here at Keeneland on October 17th. So she's faced some really nice fillies and mares so far, and I just think she needs distance and the blinkers on and hopefully a forward trip today and just keep on going, because I do think that she is kind of one of those that might have the stamina edge in here. And then the 7, Fortuna, for all the reasons that you mentioned, Scott, she is probably the filly to beat. She's classy. She has a better post. It's still, we still don't know whether or not she can handle the main track, but she is a filly by Medaglia d'Oro. And then the 10, pay attention to the 10, long pants required for Brendan Walsh. She has one dirt race. That was November of last year at Churchill Downs, and it was an off-the-turf race. But she was third to Ivietsu, who's actually a pretty decent horse. And maybe the form is there. Maybe she's okay on the dirt, and she could be best of all of these turf horses. Scott, I thought she was one to definitely pay attention to.
She's going to have to be hustled away from, though, isn't she, to get the lead from that outside draw?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, she's in 3 more post positions now, but yeah,
still ways out there.
She's still pretty far out.
It's a tough race because the other thing too, you've got a lot of dirt pedigrees on horses that have been running on the turf course, like Captain Ginny B, a daughter of Uncle Mo, who didn't run bad on debut at Indiana Grand. So what if she takes a step forward and then with moving over to the dirt really wakes up with Julian in the saddle? It's one of those races where you're playing the pick 6, late pick 5, late pick 4. You're going to have you need multiple options in order to have confidence in playing a ticket in that final leg. So before we get to our late pick 4, let's take a look at the Clocker report and go back to race number 3 and start the conversation with Tis Splendid News for Wesley Ward, the expected favorite in that race that is now off the turf course. Worked 5/8 of a mile in 102 and 3. 3 stamina building work since a narrow debut loss. Has speed and gets go-to rider in Gerardo Corrales. When they team up, Wesley Ward and Gerardo Corrales, 23% winners with a positive ROI of plus 35 cents. And then in race number 7, that A other than allowance race, 7 furlongs on the main track. Never forget, 4 furlongs worked at best of 117. Sharp drill scratched out of the Lexus Raven Run, that grade 2 event, and is primed for a big effort. So you definitely have to respect her. She'll likely be the favorite in that 7th race, the featured allowance race on this afternoon. So let's dive into the late pick 4, Gabby Gaudet, and get your opinions on this sequence in the 8-race card.
It's not easy, and I definitely don't have a single. Those are 2 key points of this late pick 4. $40.50 will be the cost of the ticket, 3 by 3 by 3 by 3, and hopefully we get it done today. The 5th race, tough race, a $40,000 claiming race. I think the 2 Intrepid Heart is probably the class of the race, but the 3 Lone Rock will be the top pick. More on that race in a bit, but this is Robertino Diodoro, David Cohen. They've teamed up for 5 victories so far at the meet, so I'm going with what is hot. The 5 Mitres Por Ciento is dropping in class after stumbling out of the gate last time out for Mike Maker. So those are the 3. Race 6, 2 other than allowance, 2, 6, 7. For me, we talked about this race before. The 6 Naughty Joker's intriguing, the 7 Carpe Venom, and then the 2 Past the Plate, who's got that 1 intriguing dirt race. And then the 7th race is 1, 2, 4 for me. Top pick is the 4 Really a Garland, but respecting the 2 O Serafina, and the 1 Impeccable Style, finishing second last out to She Dares the Devil. And then finally we get to the last race, 5, 7, 10, in what is a very tricky race, Scott.
First leg, I am going to go 4 deep in here, and I'm with Gabby. Intrepid Heart is the class of this race. He comes off of consecutive victories. At one point in time, I thought that this guy was going to turn out to be a really high-quality stakes horse, and obviously Todd Pletcher did it as well, running him in the Peter Pan and the Grade 1 Belmont Stakes last year at the age of 3. But now he's found his level. He's found his rhythm. He's going to be one of the favorites in this event, but you've got to respect Jungle Warfare based on his 7th place, only beaten 3/4 of a length finish behind Segoy, who went wire to wire in a nice allowance race here on Saturday at Keeneland Race Course. You take a look at the 4-235. He's another horse that back not long ago, he was running against some of the best on the West Coast, including Midcourt and Combatant in those handicap races, the Native Diver, the San Pasquale, and the Santa Anita Handicap. He's since fallen off of form, but look at how fast those races were run. I'd be shocked if the races run that quick here today. So you've got to respect him on the drop down in class. And then on the outside, Street to Indy for Chris Hartman. Claimed last time out for $32,000. Brings him back in for $40 here today. Hartman is as good as any when it comes to spotting his horses. We've seen that time and time again at this meet at Keeneland Fall. As far as race number 6, the 2 and the 6, the idea there, the 6 being the top selection, Naughty Joker for Wesley Ward off the 8-month layoff with Corrales again in the saddle. As far as race number 7 is concerned, I'll go 4 deep in here. Impeccable Style, who we talked about, last beaten by Kentucky Oaks winner She Dares the Devil. O Serafina off the layoff and her speed. Really a Garland for Rudy Brisset. And then finally on the outside, never forget, scratched out of that Lexus Raven run to run here today and gets the nod on the clock report. And then we'll round it out with 4 more in race number 8. 4, 7, 8, and 10. The 4 Safari Queen, talked about her. The number 7 was Fortuna, did as well with that runner. The Pythoness for Michael Campbell, same situation on dirt for the first time since those first 3 starts. And then on the outside, the 10-horse, long pants required, as Gabby pointed out. The 1 run on dirt was not bad at Churchill Downs, and she's a daughter of New Year's Day, who I don't know that I've seen very many New Year's Days run on turf. Mm-hmm. Gabby, have you?
No, not that I can think of.
It's not one of the normal patterns that we see with New Year's Day, who's famous for his win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile 2-year-old champion, and obviously one of the leading contenders for this year's Breeders' Cup Classic here at Keeneland in Maximum Security. And I've heard a lot of, have you read about the buzz about his workout in the fog there at Santa Anita for Baffert, saying it might be the best one that he's put forth for Baffert since he's arrived at the Baffert barn?
Yep, I did. I just actually read that article this morning. So, you know, the more I think about it, the Classic this year is just going to be a sensational race. You mentioned Breeders' Cup horses. Well, 'Tis the Law just recently came here on Sunday, and Probable. I mean, it's a loaded Classic this year.
Jackie's Warrior, one of the favorites for the Juvenile. He's already here with the Steve Asmussen barn, and I believe he put in a workout this past weekend. So, yeah, things are ramping up towards Breeders' Cup. But we got a lot of opportunities left this week. 4 more race days here at Keeneland. Let's go to my best angle, race number 2, which starts the early pick 4. 40,000 claimers, non-winners of 2 lifetime. The 2-horse Press Snooze is going to be the 5-2 morning line favorite. The fact that Dane Kabisky scratches Algebraic out gives me confidence in the 2. The 2B, I think, was the better of the 2 based on his run here. But if Press Snooze remains with the scratch of the entry mate, watch out for him off of his win at Colonial. He was debuted at Belterra. So we'll see what PTK and Dane Kabisky have in line here. The 3-horse Kochki for Steve Asmussen, another one that probably will be favored with the scratch of Algebraic, but you've got to respect him. And then box those 2 along with the 4-horse Passageway for Chris Hartman. Breaks his maiden for 15 at Churchill. The fact, again, that Hartman is placing this horse in for 40, given that confidence, he doesn't put his horses in vulnerable spots often, and I don't think he does in here today. I think he's found a fairly soft 40,000 claimer. So box the 2, 3, and 4 in race number 2.
All right, Scott, I'm going to move ahead a couple races to the 5th race. Again, this does start the late pick 4. I skimmed over this race just a moment ago, but we'll dive into it a bit more. A mile and a 16th, a $40,000 open claiming event. We mentioned the 2 Intrepid Heart is the class of the race, but I went with, a different angle, and actually worked so far this meet. The Diodoro and David Cohen angle, they have teamed up for 5 victories so far at the meet. Diodoro has 5 wins at the meet, and David Cohen has been aboard all of them. Now, Diodoro does have another horse in here in the one Jungle Warfare, but I'm going with what I think is the more live horse here with the 3 Lone Rock. We'll take you back to his race 2 starts back, and this was at Saratoga when he ran 6.5 furlongs. This was at the $40,000 level, and when Robertino Diodoro claimed this horse, he finished second to Pete's Play Call. Pete's Play Call would come back in a 2 other than allowance, in which he won. That was the same race as Lone Rock was in too, but I thought overall this was a good performance by this horse. And the pace didn't come back to him. You could see Pete's Play Call, who won the race. He was forwardly placed, but a big separation between the top 2 finishers and the 3rd place finisher. So the class is there. I think this is a more realistic spot for this horse, now dropping back down to the 40. And it doesn't bother me that he's stretching out in distance because he's done this before in the past. And he has some back class, Scott. He went against Diamond King, Forensic Fire, and the Stymie and the General George. So I'm thinking it could all come together for this horse on the drop back down in class and with the added distance.
That is Gabby's best angle in race number 5. Let's go to Tom Leach's pick of the day. He's going to race number 3 in this off-the-turf event. Improved second out, Menzel. That's the number 5 horse, who's 15-1 on the morning line, and comes for the Wilkes barn. And yeah, Wilkes is due. I hate to point it out, Gabby, because we love Ian Wilkes, and he is a top trainer. He's gone over 34, according to what's in front of me. So looking to get off the duck here this afternoon with Menzel in race number 3. So 15-1 on the morning line. The daughter of Tisnow, who does have 2 starts on dirt and gets to true 2-turn for the very first time, as that Ellis 1 mile event is around that 1.5 unique configuration, which we found out it's hard to win from an outside post, and that's where she was debuted, an outside draw at the mile at Ellis Park. For Gabby, I'm Scott. Enjoy today at Keeneland. First post, 1:05 Eastern Time.
The following is a presentation of the Keeneland Association.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Keeneland Racecourse. At this time, we ask that you would please rise in tribute to our national anthem. Keeneland is proud to recognize Jim Bacon from stewarding as the Employee of the Day. Congratulations, Jim. First wire, they are at the post. They're off. There goes Big Biz. Big Biz, and Don't Show Weakness. Eastern Symphony going to join them third up on the far outside, and then Dancing Irish Jig, who comes away in the fourth position. Don't Show Weakness moves up toward the inside, down toward the rail, and has the early lead. Big Biz alongside the leader's flank in second position around the first turn. Eastern Symphony will go third up toward the far outside, 2 lengths off the lead, followed by Florida Flash, who saves the ground down toward the inside around the first turn in fourth, a half length. Dancing Irish Jig is fifth by 3/4 of a length. My Name is Fred is sixth on the outside of that one, then a gap of 2 more back to Sonic Burn, whose last opening quarter went in 24.21 seconds. Don't Show Weakness is the leader by just ahead. Now Big Biz right alongside. Those two go at it for the top spot. A length and a half to the good as Eastern Symphony third to the far outside. And then Florida Flash down toward the inside of Dancing Irish Jig. That pair followed by My Name is Fred, opening half mile, 49.43 seconds. Sonic Burn is still the trailer into the far turn. Don't Show Weakness, the leader by a head. Again, here comes Big Biz right back up alongside. It dropped back for a few paces, now is back up front, and Eastern Symphony is ready to press the issue on the extreme outside. Front three separated by a neck around the far turn. Big Biz between horses leads at a neck. They're at the quarter pole. Eastern Symphony tries to draw alongside. Don't Show Weakness is still there fighting on toward the inside. Then a gap of 4 more lengths back to My Name is Fred, who has to swing wide to the top of the short stretch. Still a distant fourth at this point. Eastern Symphony and Don't Show Weakness going at it along with Big Biz in between that pair. Don't Show Weakness against the rail. Eastern Symphony outside. Big Biz fighting on between them into the final 16th. Don't Show Weakness fighting on with the lead. Eastern Symphony trying, head-bobbing photo for the win to get things started on a Sunday at Keeneland. Either Eastern Symphony or Don't Show Weakness for the top spot.
This was kind of tussle for quite a long time during this race as the full horse Don't Show Weakness.
In the winner's circle for Keeneland's first, the unofficial winner, number 8, Eastern Symphony, owned by Nebet Arif Kertel, trained by Marat Sancal. Florent Giroux, the jockey. They are at the post. And they're off. There goes Forever Noah from the inside with Irish Willow. Sweet Wilhelmina up toward the far outside. Lavalier now kicks in with Tootsie between horses as the field heads up onto the main track and hits the backstretch now. Sweet Wilhelmina from the outside has a head in front. Here's Forever Noah. Forever Noah takes the lead by just a neck from Sweet Wilhelmina, who's second by a length. And there's Irish Willow moving up a closer third by a half length. Lavalier fourth on the outside. Then Gesture fifth against the rail, running 4 lengths off the lead. Tootsie is sixth. Lil Shopper is in seventh. 23.39 seconds the time for the opening quarter. Forever Noah, the leader. Forever Noah in front by 2 lengths. Sweet Wilhelmina second a length to Irish Willow, who's third by just a neck. Lavalier fourth on her outside. Gesture is in fifth and now 7 lengths from the front. Tootsie and Lil Shopper at the back. They round the far turn. Forever Noah the leader. Forever Noah in front. Lavalier goes to second, 2 lengths away. Here's Irish Willow toward the inside in third. Still 3 from the front to the top of the stretch. And then Sweet Wilhelmina fourth. Gesture has to go wide in fifth. Still 7 from the front as they straighten away for home. Forever Noah the leader. Forever Noah 5-length lead to Irish Willow, who's trying to make up some ground down toward the inside, but the leader's moving by the 8th pole. Lavalier third. Gesture is fourth. Forever Noah the leader by 5. Forever Noah in front past the 16th pole. Irish Willow is second. Forever Noah, Brian Hernandez Jr. to win it. Irish Willow will be home second. Going to be close for third. Either Gesture or Sweet Wilhelmina for that third spot. Then behind that pair, it was Lavalier who was fifth. In the winner's circle for Keeneland's second race, the unofficial winner, number 1, Forever Noah, owned by Ryan Ritt and William Perkins, trained by Chris Davis. Brian Hernandez Jr. is the jockey. Forever. First wire, they are at the post. They're off. I'll Make It Coach unseated the rider coming out of the gate. Number 5, I'll Make It Coach unseated the rider coming out of the gate. There goes My Alimony out for the early lead and circles up around to the outside of Blue Paint, who's content to let her go on by. And Pharaoh's Gold going to go to second. Blue Paint going to drop back into third and hug that rail around the first turn. Third by just a half length as the field works its way over toward the backstretch. Then Solemn Oath, who's fourth up on the outside. Poet's Princess fifth between horses. Ketchikan sixth toward her inside. Exaggerated Income is a wide seventh. Opening quarter went in 24.27 seconds. My Alimony, the leader. My Alimony leads it by a length up the backstretch. Pharaoh's Gold goes second by a length. Solemn Oath is third by just a half length. Blue Paint is fourth toward the inside by 3/4 of a length. Poet's Princess, fifth between horses. Exaggerated Income is next on the far outside.